Hello containerizers and welcome to yet another video. So what we're going to do today is show you how to put a UI around your Docker installation, around Docker and around Docker Swarm. The great guys at Portainer.io provided an open source user interface around Docker, and that's what we're going to show off today. So go check them out, Portainer.io. And today, as in other demos we've done, what we're going to do is set up a full application stack, being the example voting app. As we've done last time, we're going to use the Play with Docker interface. So if you want to know more about this, we did an entire video on Play with Docker. I'll link in the description and here on top in the video. So I've my environment set up already here with 5 Docker nodes, and I've set them up in a Docker Swarm mode. So there's 1 manager and 4 workers, as you can see on the icons over here. So the first thing I'm going to do is just launch Portainer by running this command. So I'm going to docker run, call it Portainer on port 9000. I have to add, bind mount the Docker socket into this container from the Portainer image. So I'm running that, it's pulling everything in. And one of the newer features, by the way, in Play with Docker is that now every published port, every published service will be announced over here in this little bullet. So that's a super cool new features the guys added. So when I'm click that, you will see this very nice user interface that will show all information about my current Docker setup. So this is dashboard. I can see what containers are running. So for now only the Portainer container itself, of course. What images have been pulled in on this machine. So the Portainer image with volumes are running, and the network. Another cool feature is app templates. So if you want a quick way of setting up a certain application, you can do it through here. So let me just quickly do that by setting up an Nginx container. I'll give it the name Nginx, default bridge network. And if I want to announce this service, I'm gonna use that port later, so I'll just pick another one, just go for 10,000 inside the container on port 80, and I'll create that one. And there we go. Container is now running. If we go back to Play with Docker, we'll see that on port 10,000, and then this is for the HTTPS, we have an Nginx running. Now, another way of running Portainer is running it as a service in Swarm, and that goes through this command. Just gonna copy paste it over here. So I'm gonna create a service, also with the name Portainer. I will announce this on port 9090. Again, I have to bind mount the Docker socket, and then it's very important that this only gets launched on managers in the Swarm. So it will be on this node since there's only 1 manager. I launch from the Portainer image, and I specifically add a variable or a command line parameter to announce that it's a Swarm mode that we'd like to get a UI on. There we go. So it's booting up. As you can see over here, port 9090, the service is announced. So when I go there, you'll see more or less the same user interface, but there's a couple of differences. So for instance, there's info about my swarm here. So I'm on a manager and there's 5 nodes in the swarm. And also on the left, you'll see here another tab, Swarm, and one for services, which you won't have in the standard Docker non-swarm mode for Portainer. Then there's other tabs over there. Also important to note, by the way, is the fact that since this Portainer is now launched as a service, you will see that on every node in my swarm, the port 9090 is available. It's the routing mesh of Docker Swarm that handles that. So now what we're going to do is launch our application stack. I'm first going to create a network. So I'm going to create, and let me get back to this picture, going to create a vote network, and here for the backend I will create a results network, and then the worker will connect to both networks. So first gonna go for the user facing side. I created the vote network, which you now can see over here. And so now I can go on and create a service. So first service will be the vote app from the example voting app image from the normal registry, and let us launch 3 replicas of that. We'll announce publish port 8080. Inside the container it's port 80. I'll leave this the same. I won't add volumes. Obviously I will add this to the vote network, and I could add a label just to say, okay, this is a front-end application, for instance. Gonna create that service. So in my service list over here now, this service is added, and you see over here we asked for 3 replicas, so containers are starting up. Can even go into the containers, so for now, by now they're already running. So in vote app I have 3 of the requested containers running, so I can check again in the play with Docker. So on 8080 there is a service running, cats dogs. You're probably familiar with this already. Now, when I click one, it will give me an error since there's no Redis running yet. So let's start that one up. Add a new service. I'll call it Redis. From the official Redis image, just one. No port mapping necessary because it will be handled internally. The internal service discovery will handle that for me. Add it to the vote network. Gonna create my Redis service. All right, Redis is preparing, still preparing, so it's pulling in, and by now it's running. Okay, my entire service is running. So if I click now, then we'll see there's some functionality working, so my votes are being registered in the Redis queue. Okay, so now we're gonna launch the other side of the application stack, the result application. So I'm gonna create first a network for that called result, create, and then a new service to store our data in DB, which will be a Postgres DB. Just one is okay. On the result network, I'm gonna create that one. Let's check it out. Okay, it's running. And then the result application itself from this image, and we'll have to map or publish port 8081 to port 80, and this application also needs another port mapping 5858, and I'll launch it to 5858. Also on network result, I'll create that, go to our result app, and we see it's running. So if we go back to play with Docker, we'll see over here that there's 8081 as a service on all the nodes with the routing mesh. So when I open that up, we have our result app. For now, there's no votes in the DB yet. So we're gonna launch the 5th application in this stack, being the worker. From this image, just one replica is good here also, and in this case we need to attach it to both networks, both result and vote network, because it needs to grab things from the Redis queue and push them in Postgres. So our worker over here is running, so that's nice. So if Now we see already that one vote I casted a couple of moments ago. If I switch to docs, we'll see that the whole application is switching over and doing what it's supposed to do. A couple of other cool tricks that Portainer has under its sleeve is inside within your container. So if I go to the containers tab and I take, for instance, the Portainer one, I can check the stats of this container, CPU, memory, and network, live in real time. So that's really cool. Can also see the logs for that container, so std out and std error, or even go directly in the console if I wanted to. Another cool thing that's possible, if for instance I just want to run Portainer locally, let me bring up a terminal to do that. What I can just do is run this command, so docker run on my local machine, so this is entirely local, run a Portainer. There was a bug in this, so someone in the community has built an update, so this is the fork for that, and it will be merged soon. But anyway, I launch Portainer and I say the host of my Play with Docker environment. And when I run this container and then locally go to localhost on port 9000, there we go. I can see, or I have this Portainer running locally with an insight on my environment in Play with Docker. So I can just run it locally. I don't have to pollute my production, so to say, environment with that.